trying to figure out what kind of content to make on YouTube or on any platform for that matter can be really difficult for a lot of people. And like, it's something that I'm struggling with myself, right? I'm trying to find my place as to where I feel like I belong or what I feel that I'm good at and what I'm passionate about. Yet, whenever there's nothing to me more than I just enjoy playing video games, that's not really something that's unique and special, at least in this day and age, especially if you don't even play it at a professional, competitive level, like to the 1% of those people who are really like good at competitive games, which I'm not myself. Like there's a lot of different types of games that I play right now. I'm mainly playing Overwatch, I'm playing a lot of Rust, and I'm playing some Rocket League here and there. Sometimes every now and then I play like Fall Guys and Risk of Rain 2, but that's really like the majority of my games at the moment that I'm playing. So I have two channels. I have this one, which I'm like uploading random content. I have done reviews of anime, TV shows, movies, anime movies, just different stuff, trying different things to see what works, like a throwaway channel to test stuff out. And then I have a gaming channel where I talk about video games. Sometimes I do Let's Plays, but I'm kind of conflicted and confused on what I want to do, right? Like my gaming channel, I have tried doing Let's Plays, which is what I started doing at the very beginning. I started doing like funny compilations as well back then that I compiled from my streams or from just playing video games and edit them all together, and like did animation, text following the characters and all that stuff, which seemed to do a lot of work for little to no return, right? And for that very reason, it's really hard to make something like that when you spend a lot of time on something and then it doesn't accomplish what you sort of feel like it should accomplish, right? Because I don't enjoy editing, but I don't mind if like when I'm playing games and all that stuff doesn't get views, because it's not as hard to just play a game or just to talk about something or to review a game without having to do like these hardcore edits to where you're doing like motion tracking and all that stuff manually, trying to track certain characters in the game and all that stuff to make it a little bit more interesting, and adding captions through what everybody else is saying. Like that's a little bit more complicated, and I only did about 3 or 4 videos like that, but I didn't feel like I was getting like enough views for the time that I was putting in, which is like it wouldn't be a problem if I actually enjoyed editing stuff like that. But the problem is I don't enjoy that, and I feel like, to what point do I stop doing this? Because I want to, like in hopes that I want to make it. If it doesn't, like, if I'm basically annoyed by doing it, when I need to find something that I can enjoy. Because the way I see it is, maybe it'll pay off in the long run if I do edit videos that way. But it's like, I'm going to have to like suffer through them because I hate editing and stuff like that. The other thing is, I probably will be more content and happy if I just upload whatever I want, you know, whether it's talking about games, whether it's doing Let's Plays. And even if it doesn't get views, I'd be perfectly content with that, simply because it's something that I'm enjoying doing, right? I've been working on my podcast more consistently than I have been doing my YouTube videos. Like, I'm still lost as to what I really want to upload on this channel and on my other channel. I actually have 3 channels, but one of them is a tech channel, which isn't like, none of these channels that I have are consistent, but the one I upload the most is my gaming one, and then this one. My tech channel is just when I want to review certain stuff. And I'm surprised that I got 13 subs, you know, from just 2 videos. I was kind of surprised, because they're not really like good quality or anything. It's just like me showing off the product and talking about it, giving my overall thoughts about it. And I don't mind doing that every now and then, but I don't think I can be consistent with that one, simply because I'm only going to be reviewing certain stuff that I buy, right? I can't afford to be buying every type of product, but whenever I want to review certain products, then that I thoroughly enjoy and want to talk about my first experience using them, then I'll do that on that channel. And that one's like for fun as well. But the one that I'm more serious, or have been more serious, or trying to be more serious, is my gaming one. And like I've said, I've tried Let's Plays, I've tried editing videos to have like motion tracking, I've tried reviewing games, and it's not that they're good at all in any way, shape, or form. The reason I stopped doing Let's Plays is because I felt like it was just more of the same that everyone's doing it, right? Some people do it a little bit different. Some people do it a little bit better. And, I think there's still a lot of space for new Let's Players to play like the games, because everyone's going to have a different interpretation or different reaction when it comes to like playing certain games. And people are going to play the game differently. They're going to make different choices. Some people are going to play it worse. Some people are going to play it better. Some people are going to speedrun it. There's many different ways to play a game. And if it's like a really good game that people enjoy and want to see other people's reactions, people are going to be looking for other content creators that play the game to see how they reacted to the choices that they made in the game, or how they played their game compared to how they're playing the game themselves. So I think that's still something that's going to be growing. Even like it's already like huge, right? It grew like 4, 5, 6 years ago, I think, where Let's Plays became super popular, even the non-commentary ones. But what I found out when it came to that for me personally is I was not able to complete many games. Like I was buying games so I can do these things, so I can record them. But it always felt like a chore, right? It's like, oh, a new game came out, but I haven't beat the previous one. Oh, another game came out, but I haven't beat the previous one, right? And it came to a point to where I was just playing games because I wanted to upload content, and not because I actually wanted to enjoy the game. And I felt like that was kind of a negative way to go about it, when maybe I could just do like, I've seen videos where people just play one game and give like their first impressions of that game, and then they never upload it again. They may never even touch it again, which is perfectly fine. But that makes for a decent one video, first impressions of a video game, give your overall thoughts. And even reviews, when I started doing reviews, it seemed a little bit hard, because you still have to play a lot of games if you want to review a lot of games, right? Like out of all the games I played, I can do four reviews, but then that's it. What content comes next if I'm not playing anything else? Like I'm basically like stuck right there. Now, maybe if I was like getting game copies for free, or if I was like actually able to beat games early or something, and I wouldn't have to record it, but only record every now and then, because I don't want to play a game that's a story-based game or even a multiplayer game and constantly be recording it. I kind of want to sit back in my couch, enjoy it, and like relax and play it at my own pace. And then once I'm finished, then I can talk about it, even if it's a little bit slower than like usual. Then takes me a longer time than it takes other people to complete the game, which I'm perfectly fine, right? Like I want to take things at my own pace, but somehow I get caught up feeling like I need to catch up, like I need to complete this, because the new next thing is coming up, which it's not always going to be the case, right? Like that's not like that mindset. I get the mindset, right? Because new games are coming out constantly. But, there's people reviewing old games and talking about other games, and they do really, really well, getting, 300,000 views and more. And, it's perfectly fine. There's really no excuse, but I got stuck into that mindset for some reason. And yeah, there's different types of content to make when it comes to gaming, right? You can do reviews, let's plays, commentary, funny moments, super competitive, try hard, like tutorials or tips. I guess if you play one game specifically, you can talk about like all the updates that are happening, the best like guns or the best abilities or utilities to use depending on what kind of game you're playing, whether it's a survival game, FPS game, or whatever it may be, right? It doesn't have to be like the best tips. You might get dislikes because people are going to be like, oh, this is a shitty tip, or I already knew this, but that's just how it's going to be, right? The point is that you get to work on your content and you get to sort of express certain things that you're kind of excited to share. And I'm still kind of confused as to what I want to do, right? My podcast has been something else that I want to focus on, but I don't really expect anything from my podcast. I don't know how hard or how easy it is to grow a podcast, or if it's even able to provide any type of monetary value at all, unless I make like videos out of it. But I really just want to do the audio because that's something that I enjoy, actually. And I have two podcasts, one that's a little bit more personal to myself, that is basically me venting, and it's sort of like a journal for me to reflect back on as the years go by and see how my perspective and mind changed throughout the years of how I used to think to how I think in the future. And then the other one, which is Crivo's Thoughts, the same name as this one, this YouTube channel. It's just where I talk about streaming or talk about YouTube or content creators, or, like kind of like not super heavily like drama related, but I give my overall thoughts about a lot of like cultural stuff that's going on. And sometimes I do like anime reviews on there, which I would upload them on here as well if I ever do that. But it's just like more of the content creation side. Like I talk about my thoughts about certain things that are going on, just randomly, stuff like that. And sometimes like the emotional or the mentality that a lot of like the negative stuff that happens whenever you're streaming so much, or like the pressure that big content creators may have from feeling like they always have to be on top of everything because the whole world is watching them, or, get like, I just talk about stuff like that. I don't know. You really have to check it out. And if you're interested in listening to the podcast, right? Like that's something that I enjoy. I don't expect anything of it, but I enjoy talking about stuff. So, and I've already talked about the topic that I'm talking about right now, specifically in this video. So I'm not going to upload it to my podcast, but I kind of wanted to say a little bit more and a little bit less, maybe some things that I missed. Like what I mean by a little bit more is add a little bit more than what I've said in the podcast that I uploaded, but a little bit less. And I'm not going to say everything that I've already talked about in the episode that I did. But regardless, if you didn't listen to it, it doesn't matter. And if you're new listening to this, then yeah. So it's tricky, right? I know like a lot of people would say, oh, you need to do this type of content, provide some type of value. Like this is common sense, right? It's common sense to be like, oh, you got to provide something that provides value for other people, because that's the only way people are going to consume content. And it's like, how do you balance doing something that you love? Because what if something that you love doing doesn't provide any sorts of value, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the reasons why people wanted to become YouTubers or streamers is because they can do something that they love while making a living out of it. Now it's turned into a whole different thing, to where it's like, not for everybody, right? But a lot of people, it's like you have to not do what you love, but you sort of have to be unique about it, be creative about it. And there's always different ways to be creative. There's always going to be people who are creatively making videos differently than somebody else, or doing it better than somebody else, because sometimes you don't have to like go outside the box. Sometimes you just have to do something the same, but better than that person did it. And other people will notice that. And it's like, I feel like for myself, this isn't my time, nor will it ever be, which is perfectly fine. Simply because other people are more creative. They're able to do things that are way better than me, right? Maybe in the time period of when YouTube started and I was able to just be myself and probably not like be consistent or funny. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, right? Because I'm not saying that anyone who've made it in the past when it was easier, that they had an easy time doing it. Of course not. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying like my chances were probably better back then than they are now, because it does require a little bit of different type of effort than what it used to. Maybe not for everybody, but for a lot of people, like streaming now is a little bit harder. Recording now is a little bit harder. It's just different, right? There's different types of strategies that you need to do compared to back then when it was completely a whole different thing, when it was new and up and coming. That's not necessarily to say it's a bad thing, right? Because I don't think everyone can become a live streamer. I don't know if everyone can become a content creator. Maybe that's possible, because, you know, when people consume videos, especially if they're 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I mean, everyone can go around watching each other's videos and supporting them with ads, and maybe it's possible for everyone to make money that way. I don't know. It would really mess a lot of things up in the economy, or at least in the workplaces, if everyone quit just to do YouTube, right? Like, but I don't know. That's kind of complicated. I don't know how that would exactly work if everybody was a YouTuber. It's like, oh, I'm just going to leave this video playing in the background so they get ad revenue, and then I'm going to leave this other video playing in the background as well so they can get ad revenue, and so on and so on. And then those people do the same to you, and back and forth, and everybody's supporting each other. But then, like, if everyone's making money from YouTube videos, no one's out there doing the jobs that we're doing now that we hate to do. If you work a basic minimum wage job that you hate, like myself. But yeah, so I mean, I just want to find what I love doing, but at the same time be able to provide value. And I don't think those two mix with myself very well, because I don't think anything that I do that I thoroughly enjoy doing provides any value to anyone else except for myself, to enjoy myself, right? And it gets a little bit more complicated, right? Like, that's why I have 3 different YouTube channels, because I've been experimenting and trying different things and trying to figure out, like, man, what should I do? It's so frustrating. And nothing happens overnight, so it's sort of hard. I mean, some people get lucky overnight, and some people deserve it to happen overnight because they make like some quality stuff. But it's kind of like, I work on my gaming channel and then I'm like, well, I don't know if this is going to work. Let me upload on my tech channel. Like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. Let me upload on this channel. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work. Let me go on my podcast. You know what? Let me just stream. And like, that's just kind of my mindset. Like, I'm all over the place doing different things instead of sticking to one, but I never know if I'm making the right choices or making the right moves as to what I should be doing. And then I feel like I'm overanalyzing and overthinking too much instead of just doing what I enjoy, that I kind of forgot the whole purpose of why I even made YouTube videos in the first place, or even live streamed when I used to live stream. And it was like to have a good time. But eventually, once it became like a thing that I acknowledged that a lot of people were able to make money, and now a lot of people are trying to make money, which isn't a bad thing, because like a lot of us are just tired of our shitty jobs, right? And you sort of start to shift your mindset, at least the way I did. It's kind of like, it becomes more of the, what can I do to make this much money, instead of what can I do to have fun? What can I do so I'm happy? What can I do that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy, even if it doesn't make me the most money, right? But now it's kind of consistently, what's going to get me to the top? What's going to make me this much money in order for me to quit my job? What's going to be this next step so I don't have to keep working so hard in my real job that I have to sacrifice a lot of other stuff, that I'm just tired of living the way that I live and this and that, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's sort of like one of those negative things. It's kind of like you're working a shitty job, but you want to pursue something, your side business, I guess you can call it. And sometimes when it's not working, you sort of put yourself down and you tell yourself, what am I doing wrong? Because obviously I'm doing something wrong, right? Like, that's, for me at least, that's the most logical sense to make, or the conclusion to come, that I'm doing something wrong. And obviously I am, because, there's some videos that I don't put effort in. There's other videos that I did, but I feel like they weren't good enough. And then at the end, I just get conflicted as to like not even knowing what to do. My anxiety level, depression levels like go all the way off the roof, and I start over analyzing a lot of stuff. So this is just me venting this. I'm not complaining about anything, but I guess venting and complaining is the same thing. Like, I'm not asking anyone to help me or to do something for me. I'm just, speaking my mind and trying to put my own perspective out there, and just trying to see what I can do and trying to figure out my path and if it's worth it, right? Because there are a lot of problems when it comes to like playing video games for a living, right? Like, when it comes to streaming, I guess there's, depending on your mindset, there's 2 ways that you can look at it, right? There's one way that, imagine if you grew up playing Fortnite or CSGO, it doesn't matter the game, but just imagine you're playing one game and you have to play that game for the rest of your life, at least when you're streaming or making content, in order for you to keep your viewer base and to keep making money off of it. Now, some people, that would be like a dream come true, right? Because even all they have to do is play the same game when they stream and when they make videos. But when they're not streaming and when they're not making videos, they can play anything they want, right? Without having to worry about money. Another perspective that someone can look at it is like, they're tired of playing that game all the time on stream. They're tired of doing that type of content on YouTube, and they want to grow their business or their brand and be more of a personality content creator than known for the game that they play. And that's when it becomes a little bit more stressful if you have that mindset, which I'm not saying it's a bad mindset to have. There's some people who are grateful. Not saying that neither of them are grateful, but it's just like one person sees a little bit different. Their perspective is different, while the other person's perspective is different, right? Like, I'm on the second one, to where I wouldn't want to play a stream, because it would be, for my mentality, I would be like, well, no one enjoys watching me for me, right? They just enjoy me because of the game I play. Like, that's how I would feel personally, right? But I can understand if someone has the other perspective that they don't really care because they're able to do something instead of work at the shitty job that they work. And it's like, if I have to play Minecraft for 4 hours and make videos for another 2 hours just for Minecraft, I don't really care. I still have like the weekend to play whatever I want, or, you know, I align my videos to make sure that I'm uploading daily, and maybe I'll have a week or two off to where I just focus on playing whatever games I want. There's people like that, right? And there's nothing wrong with either or, but I also understand the side, which is the spectrum that I'm at, to where like, I'm afraid that if you only play one game, or if I only play one game, that people are only going to enjoy that game. Because I noticed that it's hard for a lot of people to be variety streamers or variety content creators, because their viewerships declines and their, you know, money stuff declines as well of how much they're making. And that's really scary and can be really stressful whenever you're like at the top and your streaming career depends on it. Like, imagine you have 2,000 viewers and, I don't know, 5,000 subs from playing your main game, and then you switch at night to a game that you want to play. Your viewership goes down to 500. You know, your subs aren't going to go down, but imagine now you're playing a game that you want every single day, and eventually your subs go down to 500. You know, like, that's a dramatic decrease on what you're making. And the same thing can go for your YouTube videos. You know, that all of a sudden you're playing what you want, doing what you want, and your videos decline. There's been a couple of YouTubers that were playing only Fortnite, and once they switched over, their channels completely died. And these are channels that have over 1 million views, and they were getting, you know, 500, 700,000 views on their Fortnite videos, but they got bored with the game and they wanted to experiment. And like, over the years, their viewerships decline, and a lot of these channels are only getting 1,000 to 2,000 views now. Like, 700,000 views to 1,000, that's insane. But maybe they made a lot of money, right, when they were at their peak, and they're perfectly content with that. Other people may not be content, and they want to sort of see if they can push the limit and get back in there by playing other games. But it's a very complicated and hard thing, right? But who's to say like what perspective that you have, you know? Because in one end, if you made a lot of money from playing Fortnite, from making YouTube videos, you know, content creation, and you saved out of that and invest, then I guess it's really not a problem. You don't have to make videos, you know, at least you don't have to work in your shit job. And I think it's perfectly fine, right? But then you got so used to having a viewer base that now that you don't have one, maybe it's sort of like in the back of your mind that, oh, well, I guess I have a shit personality. Like, it'll get to your mentality and it'll make you like super depressed, thinking that, oh, well, I'm not as great as I thought I was. It was just because people wanted to see this game. So there's a lot of consequences, and there's a lot of pros as well, you know, pros and cons to these things. But also it's a matter of perspective, you know. And I'm not saying, oh, change your perspective, because that's not something that's easy to do, right? It's like, oh, just don't be depressed, right? Like, that's not something that just happens. Like I said, I'm in the ladder to where I'd be on the side of like, I want to play whatever I want, however I want, and still be able to have that viewer base. But it doesn't work like that. Not for everyone. You know, I don't know what it actually has to do, because, you know, there's people that get 20,000 viewers live streaming, playing any game that they want, and that's awesome, right? Like, I would want to be at that where I can play anything that I want whenever I want it, and I would have that many viewers. Like, that's crazy. You know, like, even 10,000, like 5,000, like, that's insane, right? There's a lot of people who do that, but that's like literally a few compared to like people who only have 1,000. Like, there's a lot more streamers that have 1,000 or 500 viewers, but only on their main game, and then they decline whenever they start doing something else, which kind of sucks, right? But it's, I don't know, you kind of have to outweigh what you want to do to like, well, would you rather do this, or would you rather work at a job that you were working previously? You know, so I guess if you think of it as another job, then it's perfectly fine doing the same thing. I don't know. But this is just me ranting, I guess, in a sense. Like, I don't know, hopefully you can all find something that you enjoy doing and make something out of it. And hopefully that I can do that one day too. If not, well, you'll hear me talk about this again pretty much. But yeah, it's just a matter of perspective, I guess. I don't know. But hopefully everyone has a lovely rest of their day or night. And I guess I'm going to get some sleep. It's like 3 a.m. right now. See if I can go to sleep. If not, I'm going to play a few Overwatch games and see what happens. But anyways, take care of yourselves and I'll talk to you next time.